I'm not sure what the refs saw to upgrade it, and that's up to their discretion after watching the initial whatever happened.
This wasn't just a game. This was a statement, a battle, a brawl in sneakers. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. The moment the entire WNBA had circled in red. And what happened next will shock you. Because Caitlin Clark didn't just win. She dominated, she humiliated, and just when the dust seemed to settle, a flagrant foul, a heated standoff, and a stare down at half court sent the entire league into chaos. But let's rewind. This was supposed to be a celebration of women's basketball, a marquee matchup between the league's two most polarizing rookies. One is the golden girl of the WNBA, the face of the fever, the player ESPN cannot stop talking about. The other, a self-proclaimed queen of the paint, ready to shut Clark down by any means necessary. Yet what we got was something far more intense than anyone expected. From the opening tip, the tension was obvious. The crowd knew it. The broadcasters felt it. Every possession had a little extra push, a little extra shove. Caitlin Clark buried a three from the logo just minutes into the first quarter, and you could almost feel the fuse light. But the biggest explosion, that came later in a moment so wild, so raw, the cameras couldn't look away. After a missed shot and a fight for a rebound, Clark and Reese tangled in a way that had the entire arena on its feet. The result? A flagrant foul, a viral highlight.
The on-court ruling of a personal foul on Caitlin Clark has been upgraded to a flagrant foul penalty 1.
And a question that fans are still debating. Did Angel Reese cross the line? And here's the twist. While everyone was focused on the drama, Caitlin Clark quietly made history. She delivered a triple-double, her first ever in the WNBA. 10 assists, 10 rebounds, and points. More than enough. While Reese jawed and flexed, Clark passed, scored, and led her team to an overwhelming 35-point blowout win. So now, the media is split. Some say Reese got exposed. Others say the foul was a message, a sign that Clark won't be allowed to run this league unchecked. But everyone agrees on one thing. This rivalry is far from over. Therefore, if you think this was just another regular season matchup, think again. What happened between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese might change the WNBA forever, not just because of the final score, but because of what it revealed about two of the league's biggest stars. And by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why this feud is about more than basketball. It's about legacy, power, and who gets to own the spotlight in the new era of the WNBA. From the very first possession, this wasn't basketball, this was war. And the first shot fired, it came from Caitlin Clark. With the sky up early, Clark was fouled on a hard drive to the rim.
Here's Clark working through some contact. Clark diving in, gets the whistle.
She didn't flinch, just stepped to the line, nailed both free throws, and stared down the Chicago bench. No celebration, just cold confidence. But that was only the beginning. Moments later, Angel Reese came crashing through the lane. Elbows out, shoulders lowered. She bullied her way to the rim and sent a message with a tough layup in traffic.
Clark excelled a season ago.
Angel Reese dives in and finishes through the contact.
The arena shifted. You could feel it. This was more than a game. This was personal. But Clark responded like she always does, with a three from way beyond the arc. Splash. Net didn't even move, and the stare she gave after? Ruthless. That shot didn't just tie the game, it flipped the momentum and it set a tone. Therefore, this battle became less about team strategies and more about who could outshine the other. Kelsey Mitchell joined the firefight, scoring on tough jumpers.
Here's Mitchell, will fire, and hit from three.
But everything and everyone seemed to orbit around Clark and Reese. Every time Clark hit a jumper, Reese muscled her way to the rim. Every time Reese scored in the paint, Clark pulled up from the perimeter and drilled another dagger.
So many different places on the floor. Clark, little mid-range, is good.
But something snapped in the second half. A rebound bounced high off the rim. Both Clark and Reese went for it. Arms tangled, hands fought. And then, it happened. Clark ripped at the ball with pure aggression. Reese held tight. The two locked eyes. Neither backed down. And the arena exploded. Replay showed it clearly. Reese shoved Clark's teammate before the scrum, and Clark saw it. That's what lit the fire.
That Angel took exception to. So initially, Angel pushes Natasha Howard. Caitlin Clark points out the no call. Then she applies a hard foul on Reese. Reese gets up right away to get in the face of Clark.
This wasn't some overreaction. It was retaliation. Clark stood up for her teammate the only way she knows how, with grit, fire, and zero hesitation. Therefore, the refs hit Reese with a flagrant one. The internet divided. Some said Clark flopped. Others praised her intensity, but no one could deny the electricity that moment brought. And through all of this chaos, Clark kept playing her game. She hit another deep three.
Here's Clark firing and hitting.
She dished out assist after assist. She ran the offense with poise most rookies can only dream of. Meanwhile, Reese was clearly frustrated. Her body language shifted. She missed close-range shots. She argued with refs.
Banham flicks it ahead. Reese goes in.
And with every Clark basket, the gap on the scoreboard widened. But it wasn't just about the points. It was about control. Clark had it. Reese lost it. And by the fourth quarter, the Sky were in free fall. Chicago's defense broke down. Indiana kept feeding Clark, and she kept delivering. A hesitation dribble. Step back three.
4 seconds left. Clark fires. You bet!
Splash. Crowd goes wild, and with just over a minute to play, Clark launched another bomb from deep.
Here's Clark firing. And
Back-to-back threes that silenced the haters and sealed the win. Therefore, this wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Caitlin Clark didn't just beat Angel Reese, she exposed her. The difference in composure, skill, and leadership was undeniable. And just when it seemed like the rivalry had reached its peak, something else happened. With the final buzzer echoing through the arena, the scoreboard told one story. Indiana Fever, 93, Chicago Sky, 58. But the real story? That was playing out off the court. Because while Caitlin Clark walked off the floor with a triple-double and the spotlight firmly on her, Angel Reese was left staring into space, frustrated, furious, and maybe, just maybe, outmatched. The moment went viral. Cameras caught Reese refusing to shake hands. Clark, calm and collected, walked back to the bench, barely reacting. Reporters asked about the flagrant foul. Reese brushed it off.
Just what you saw in that play, how you interpreted what happened.
Basketball play, right?
Clark didn't take the bait.
You got the flagrant, later you got a technical. What could have happened there?
If he got the tech?
I know. Wait, what?
I got the tech?
I did not.
Oh,
First of all,
I know.
let's not make it anything that it's not. It was just a good play on the basketball. I'm not sure what the refs saw to upgrade it, and that's up to their discretion after watching the initial whatever happened during the play and then whatever happened after. We watch a lot of basketball. It's a take foul to put them at the free throw line and rather give up 2 points. I watched a lot of basketball in my life. That's exactly what it was. I wasn't trying to do anything malicious. That's not the type of player I am. So, this wasn't anything like that. And I went for the ball, and that's clear as day in the replay. You watch it. It shouldn't have been upgraded. But again, that's up to the ref's discretion. But I appreciate AB having my back. I guess I don't even know what she did. I didn't see that.
Well, girl,
Have fun paying that fine.
Can I get half? Can you?
I got it for you. No worries.
But fans did. Social media exploded. Yarshar Clark vs. Reese was trending in minutes. Some called Clark soft, others said Reese was reckless. And then came the hot takes. Former players, analysts, even celebrities jumping into the debate. Everyone had an opinion, but no one had the full story. Because here's what most people missed. When the two tangled for that rebound, the replay revealed something subtle but game-changing. Angel Reese shoved Natasha Howard before Clark ever jumped in. That moment wasn't about ego or attitude. It was about loyalty. Clark saw her teammate get hit. She saw no whistle. And she acted. Therefore, what looked like a petty fight was actually something much deeper. It was Clark doing what leaders do, protecting her team and sending a message. We're not backing down. And this is where the narrative shifts. For months, critics have questioned whether Caitlin Clark could survive in the WNBA. Too flashy, too soft, too hyped. But this game, this blowout, flipped all of that on its head. Not only did Clark dominate statistically, she showed toughness, leadership, and fire. Meanwhile, Angel Reese, for all her talk and swagger, couldn't match Clark's poise, couldn't control the game, couldn't stop the bleeding. But don't get it twisted. This story isn't over, not even close. Because the next time these two meet, the pressure will be even higher, the spotlight even brighter, and the stakes personal. The league wants this rivalry, the fans demand it, and every player in that locker room knows when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese share the court, it's not just about basketball, it's about who controls the future of the WNBA. So here's the question, did Caitlin Clark just take the crown? Or is Angel Reese about to come back stronger than ever?
Unfortunately, the Indiana Fever star will be out at least 2 weeks with a left quad strain. The team announced that Monday. Further updates will be provided following reevaluation, the team had said. SA, how big of a blow is this to the W?
We'll find out. We don't know yet, but I'm going to be really, really interested in seeing, Molly, what kind of effect this has on the WNBA's ratings.
Stephen A. Smith just lost it on national television, and Angel Reese was the reason why. After yet another stunt aimed at Caitlin Clark, Stephen A. didn't just criticize her, he torched the entire league.
I'm not going to ignore, nor am I going to take my eyes off of what transpires with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with the quad strain. And the reason why is because, let me tell you something right now. I'm not going to go to word hate. I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or other players hate Caitlin Clark. But I will say this. I don't think it's specific about Caitlin Clark. I think it's what Caitlin Clark represents.
From resentment in the locker room to jealousy boiling over on the court, this wasn't about one player. This was a warning shot. But what exactly did Angel do to set him off? Angel Reese has never been shy about her feelings toward Caitlin Clark.
Last year, you made a powerful statement saying the reason people are watching women's basketball is not just because of one player, but because of you too.
I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too.
A year later, do you feel like you're
Next question.
From the moment Clark entered the WNBA, the spotlight followed. Cameras, fans, sponsorships, and national headlines. And while many saw it as a game-changing moment for women's basketball, some saw something else, a threat. That's where the resentment began. And according to Stephen A. Smith, it's reached a breaking point.
When it was really all said and done, we know what she brings to the table. But people wanted to hate because why? You had a bunch of players in this league that watched this young white girl come along and take the league by storm, and they resented it because they saw the marketing prowess that she had.
This time, the drama erupted after Angel Reese appeared to downplay Caitlin Clark's achievements. Again, whether it's brushing off Clark's records or throwing subtle shade in interviews, Reese has built a pattern. And while some call it competitiveness, Stephen A. called it what it really is, bitterness.
The fact of the matter is that it has to start somewhere. And if it starts somewhere, a rising tide lifts all boats. You jump on that tide, you jump on that boat and elevate and use them to elevate your play or to elevate the attention you garner. It's very simple, but people didn't want to do that. There was a lot of people that didn't want to do that. Let's call it what it is. I ain't gonna mention no names, but y'all know who they are, and they didn't want to do that. And I'm not talking about players and just players, so about announcers too.
Not just from Angel Reese, but from many veterans and stars in the league.
For us to get just constantly shit on, you can't even acknowledge the growth and how amazing the WNBA is doing because shit like this happens. You didn't even have to bring up the W. If you're gonna say that it's for that, then stand on that. But I don't think I think he's trying to make a business decision, which he's a businessman, that makes sense. But to mask it in this, I want to uplift and support WNBA players and women athletes is kind of a cop-out, I think, and I don't think it really makes any sense.
And he didn't hold back. In a segment that's already gone viral, Stephen A. thundered, "Grow up."
But now, the young white girl comes along and y'all want to sit up there and shower all of this praise and all of this attention that was earned before she ever came along. The resentment is understandable, but it's not about Caitlin Clark, it's about what she represents. My point is, grow up.
He wasn't talking to Caitlin Clark. He was talking to every player and executive who refuses to acknowledge what's right in front of them. That Caitlin Clark is the reason the league is booming right now. She got you chartered flights, she gave you the ratings, and instead of celebrating her, y'all are resenting her, he said.
They ignored the fact that you got chartered flights because of this girl. They ignored the fact that ratings were going through the roof because of this girl. Instead, they resented it because they said, yo, we were doing stuff long before Caitlin Clark got here, and y'all wasn't paying attention then.
That wasn't opinion, that was fact. The numbers back it up. The Indiana Fever have the highest attendance in the league, both at home and on the road. Some teams even moved venues to accommodate Clark's crowds. Viewership for WNBA games with Clark, over 1 million. Without her, under 400,000. So when Caitlin Clark suffered a quad strain and was ruled out for 2 weeks, panic spread like wildfire. Ticket prices plummeted, entire sections went unsold, sponsors got nervous, fans declared boycotts.
I think Stephen A is 100% correct on this. At the end of the day, you already see people actually saying, hey, I'm not watching for 2 weeks. I'm not tuning in for 2 weeks. And it's really bad news for the Mystics and the Sky, because both of those teams moved those games to big arenas. So it's like, now that she's not playing, what is that attendance going to look like? The viewership, right? The viewership is going to plummet. I already know, because majority of the people that's watching the Indiana Fever wants to see Caitlin Clark. And sad to say it, a lot of them only want to see Caitlin Clark. They don't really care about the entire team.
And what did Stephen A do? He turned the pressure dial all the way up. He didn't just go after Reese, he scorched the entire system. He slammed Commissioner Kathy Engelbert for downplaying Clark's importance. He mocked the media for pretending the WNBA's rise was some collective team effort. And he lit into players like Reese, who act like Clark's spotlight somehow steals their shine.
Earlier today that I want to show you right now. Put this tweet up, please, so our audience can see it here. At 4th Gen Bucci, B-U-C-C-I, right? Stephen A. Smith, can the WNBA keep itself afloat while CC, as in Caitlin Clark, is out? End quote. My answer would be yes. I'm not going to summarily dismiss the WNBA, its growing popularity. We get that part. But I'm not going to ignore, nor am I going to take my eyes off of what transpires with the WNBA over the next 2 weeks while Caitlin Clark is out with the quad strain. And the reason why is because, let me tell you something right now, I'm not going to go to word hate. I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark or other players hate Caitlin Clark. But I will say this, I don't think it's specific.
She is special, he shouted. She turned this league into must-see TV, and instead of protecting her, y'all let her get hacked, slammed, and assaulted every night with no consequences.
I don't care about her leading the league in assists. I don't care about the points that she's averaging, because I already know that the young lady can ball. She is special.
That's what made this different. This wasn't just jealousy, it was negligence.
And so now that we know all of this, and we've known that for months, now we get to turn around and look and see what exactly is it that the league will do knowing that she's out for the next 2 weeks. I'm not saying I know for sure what's going to happen, but I have an idea.
Stephen A. accused the league of standing by while its biggest asset was targeted, fouled, and eventually injured. And now that she's sidelined, the very people who resented her success are seeing just how bad the league looks without her. Stephen A. didn't mince words. He said flat out, the WNBA had lightning in a bottle, and they acted like it was just another rain cloud. Meanwhile, Reese, the so-called rival, couldn't resist keeping her name in the headlines. From petty shots to subtle digs, she's turned every Clark success into another talking point. And Stephen A. has had enough. He even called out the double standard. When a young white girl dominates, he explained, people say she's overhyped. When other players fail to draw the same crowd, they blame the media, not the reality. Stop fighting it. Caitlin is the show, Stephen A. declared. Either get on board or get left behind.
Because if for some reason there is a precipitous drop-off, then everybody needs to stand down and recognize the fact that the speculation or the assertions and assumptions about her being the golden goose is validated. And if that happens, then you know what, you ride that wave. Rising tide lifts all boats. And if this is the magnetic traction that draws viewers to the WNBA, and her absence over the next 2 weeks due to that quad strain is providing further evidence of that, then everybody needs to accept it, stand down, and ride that wave. I'm going to be really interested in seeing how the ratings are going to look without her over the next 2 weeks. Let's make sure we come back and ask me this exact same question after she's been gone for those 2 weeks.
And here's where things get even more brutal. This isn't just about respect, it's about survival. Because while Reese may have a fan base, Clark has become the economy, the ticket sales, the merchandise, the TV deals. She's not just a player, she's the platform. And with her off the court, the league's flaws are suddenly impossible to hide. That's why Stephen A. snapped, because he saw this coming. Because he warned them, because for months he's watched WNBA insiders undermine the only player who could change their future. And now that she's out, they're all watching the floor collapse. This was never just about trash talk. It was never just about one tweet, one hard foul, or one post-game comment. This is about how the WNBA handles power. Caitlin Clark became the biggest name in women's basketball. And instead of celebrating her, the league tried to downplay her. Instead of protecting her, they let her become a target. Now, that decision is costing them everything. Clark's absence isn't just a 2-week injury, it's a 2-week free fall. Ticket prices slashed in half. Primetime games losing momentum. Entire arenas with empty rows because fans aren't showing up for women's basketball. They're showing up for Caitlin Clark.
Because the majority of the people that's watching the Indiana Fever wants to see Caitlin Clark. And sad to say it, a lot of them only want to see Caitlin Clark. They don't really care about the entire team. Now, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like everybody who is rooting for Caitlin Clark should be rooting for the entire team and watching the entire team and supporting the entire team, because even Caitlin Clark stated that, that's important to her. So I think if you are a diehard fan of Caitlin Clark, that's something you should be focused on and really still showing your support and showing up for this team. Because not one person makes the team. Let's just keep it a grand. Caitlin Clark needs a team to get to the championship.
And Angel Reese, knowingly or not, just poured gasoline on that fire. See, Stephen A. wasn't just mad about the shots at Clark. He was furious that Reese and others are still acting like Clark's success came at their expense. That somehow the attention Clark gets is a personal insult. But here's the truth. There was no attention until Clark brought it. That's why Stephen A. snapped, because this wasn't a petty feud anymore. It was a full-blown identity crisis for the league. And while players like Reese continue the back and forth, Clark's silence, her decision to focus on playing, performing, and lifting the league, has spoken louder than anything else. Stephen A. laid it out with ruthless clarity. You can't build a castle and then act surprised when the queen moves in. The message was loud and clear. Clark isn't just good, she's essential. And if the WNBA keeps pretending otherwise, they'll end up right back where they started, begging for airtime and hoping someone still cares. But the damage isn't just financial, it's cultural. The league had a chance to unite behind a generational talent, to turn a rivalry into a celebration of the sport, to uplift all players through the wave Clark created. Instead, too many chose ego over evolution. Too many chose to compete against the spotlight instead of with it. And now, the fans see it, the sponsors see it, the media sees it, and Stephen A. Smith. He's just the only one brave enough to say it out loud. Caitlin Clark was never the problem. She was the solution. And every moment the league spent undermining her, every shoulder check, every snub, every dismissive comment only confirmed what Stephen A. knew all along, that without her, the WNBA is not ready for primetime. And the most ironic part, Stephen A. wasn't even gloating. He was pleading for the league to get it right, to protect its star, to ride the wave instead of swimming against it. Because this isn't just about one season. This is about whether the WNBA can finally grow up and realize what it has. So here we are. Clark is out. The numbers are dropping. The receipts are stacked. And Stephen A. is watching it all unfold like he predicted it from day one. The only question now is, will the WNBA learn from this? Or will Caitlin Clark walk away the moment she realizes she was never truly appreciated? Because one thing's for sure, Stephen A. isn't going to stop reminding them until they do.